What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to show you how to fix your broken fishing rod for just $1. Alright guys, so this is everything that you're going to need to fix your broken fishing rod. So fix that we're fixing today, as you can see the tip just broke off of the top of the fishing rod there. It's really not a hard fix. Basically all you're going to need is some nail you can find around the house that's going to be able to slide inside of the fishing rod. You're gonna need some epoxy, and you can get that stuff from the dollar store, guys. You're gonna need a file, a hacksaw, something to trim the fishing rod with, get a nice flat surface. I'll show you guys that. And you don't need a heat gun, guys, but it definitely helps speed up the process when you're trying to dry the epoxy, or if you're working in a cold garage. But it's all the tools that you need. All right, guys, so I hope you can see this well. The first step that we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to cut off the ends of both sides, so that way we get a nice flat surface to meet them to. So go ahead and grab your hacksaw, and that's gonna be the first step that you do. All right, so now that we got the rough edges cut off, I'm just gonna go ahead and take the file and just make sure that we got a nice flat surface. So next I'm going to go ahead and slide the nail into the top of the rod. Now, where we're dealing with the top, guys, it might bottom out a little sooner than the bottom. It's tough to try and find a nail that's going to fit nicely on the bottom portion of the rod and the top, but you just do what you can do. So we've got that in pretty much as far as I'm willing to push it, and we're just going to go ahead and slide it into the bottom. All right, so go ahead and grab something to mix up your epoxy. Just a piece of cardboard works, and you're also going to want a little piece to make sure it's mixed up nice and well. You don't necessarily need something to apply the epoxy with. I just like to use my finger. I find I can get a nice even coat with it. So be careful when you are mixing out the epoxy, guys. You want to make sure that you get a nice even percentage coming out of both sides. So that'll do there for our first layer. I'll go ahead and mix that up really nice. Now you'll see when you're mixing it, it's going to turn to a nice cloudy color. The thing I like about using epoxy to fix these fishing rods is that it leaves a nice glossy coating on top of the rod. Most times you can't even tell that has been repaired. So another thing that you want to be really careful with too is you want to make sure that all your eyelets are in line with each other. So I'm going to go ahead and put some of the epoxy on, so that way we get something to stick it with. And I'm going to go ahead and eyeball it up and make sure everything's in line. And I'm actually going to go ahead and get some on the bottom portion of the nail too. Only because it's not really as tight as I would like it on the bottom, which really isn't a big deal. As you'll see. And just go ahead and smooth it out, spread it around with your finger. Now this is the part that's tricky, guys, just making sure those eyelets are lined up. Alright guys, so I'm just going to let that cool off and harden up 100%. What I'm going to do after that is I'm going to mix up a second coat of epoxy, and I'm going to put that over that. And once that hardens up, I'm going to actually take some braided fishing line, and I'm going to tie a knot at the beginning of the fix. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to loop that around the rod, and I'm going to go up to the top of the fix, and I'm going to tie another knot. I'm going to take another couple layers of epoxy over that. I just find it helps add a little bit of rigidity and strength in the fix. I've already done this on a couple fishing rods now. My fly fishing rod, it's a 10-foot rod. When I bought that, the tip was also broken off of it, and I've used that all summer. Caught a good amount of fish on it, so I'm really confident that this fix will hold. So I got the second coat of epoxy mixed up. Just want to remind you before you go ahead and do that, just make sure that all your eyelets are lined up. You want to do it. You want to make sure that they are now before you go to the point of no return. So just double check that. All right, guys, I hope you can get a good angle of this. I'm just going to go ahead and start my knot. Using braided line, you're gonna have to use a non-slipping knot. If you don't know what knot I'm tying right now, it's called a uni knot. And I'm gonna go 4 or 5 wraps here, should be plenty. I'm gonna go ahead and pull that just before tight. Go ahead and slide up to where the epoxy is, pull the other end, and just share the tension. And that should be perfect. And I'm gonna take a lighter. Braid's really hard to cut with scissors or a knife, so I'm just gonna go and take a lighter to the end of that. And I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up to the top of the fishing rod and do the same on the top. All right, so here's what it looks like before I put the epoxy on it. I got the first layer of epoxy over the braided fishing line. You just want to make sure if you're doing this extra step, I recommend doing it, that you're just overlapping with the epoxy over the braided line. There it is, guys. There is the finished product. Looks really nice. As you can see, that epoxy leaves a really nice gloss coating on the rod. I really hope this video helps you guys out. It's definitely cheaper than taking your rod in to get it repaired somewhere or buying a new fishing rod. Like I said, you can buy this epoxy at the dollar store. If this video did help you guys out, make sure you leave a like, leave a comment, let me know what you guys thought. And I'll see you in the next video.